Hello and welcome to the Time Tamer Workshop. This truly is a workshop. If you have felt enslaved to your schedule, enslaved to your to-do list, tired of going to sleep feeling guilty because you didn't get it all done, dreading tomorrow because there's so much more to get done, that means you're on a hamster wheel that God does not want you on. He is a God about rhythms of work and rest and work and rest. Work was given before the fall, but it's meant to be productive and satisfying, not harried and stressful. So let's get to work. This is what we are going to get through, but not today. This is a workshop. So I'm going to give you some of the principles today, some practical how-tos, and nitty-gritty, the homework. And then I want you to come back for the next video after you have sat down and gotten through your homework. All right, so you can take as long as you need to, but let's get started. Get your PDF, you're going to want it. You can download it at heartcleanse.org/Time Tamers, and away we go. So why do you need this? Oh my goodness. So I teach discipleship workshops to Christian women. And by far, I actually did a questionnaire. The number one obstacle to spiritual growth is over busy, lack of time, stressed out already. There's too much to do. Okay, so we are a nation. If you ever travel outside of our country and see that how other people live, you will notice that many cultures, or the ones that I visit, move slower. Do not try to cram so much into a day. So part of it may be your personality, but part of it is American society. That's where I live. And we are a time-starved society, and it leads to stressed out people with thin skins. Okay, so if you're part of that club, know that you're not alone. And here's the equation. It's this simple. If you have too much to do and not enough time to do it, you will have stress. Just think about the last time you were stressed out. It might not have had anything to do with the individual tasks. It was not having enough time to do them. You've probably seen this on posters. So you might be strong enough in your walk with the Lord to know that you don't want to go out and indulge in all sorts of fleshly sins, but you will start to wither in your spiritual growth, and you will miss some of God's best for you if you are busy scurrying and chasing after things that God doesn't have for you. And one thing, you'll maybe hear my testimony, I'm not sure. My testimony as far as not hurrying anymore, my ruthless elimination of hurry. As I was being taught by the Lord about the importance of time management, I realized that like take the last month of my life, but you take whatever period you would like to think through, the times that I felt that ratcheting in my spirit because I hadn't handled the conversation well, I hadn't handled the project well, I didn't deliver the way I wanted to, I didn't have quite, all had to do with time. I had too much to do and not enough time to do it. You've got one life to live, and I'm in my 60s now, so I'm telling you that this is the only life you've got. If you think things are going to slow down when you come home from the workplace to raise your children, not true. Children keep you busy. If you think at the next stage of your children's ages, things will slow down, not true. You will trade in changing diapers and feedings to training toddlers, to play dates, to school preparation, to sports activities, to looking for colleges, to visiting at colleges, to etc. So this is the day today, one day at a time, that you are invited to create a day that you enjoy and that you bear fruit, not just fruit of productivity, but the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience. Those are the fruit of the Spirit that we want to grow in. And that's not going to happen if you are racing around like a chicken with your head cut off. So what I have learned is that when I am striving, when I have to push to make something happen, I wake up and command the universe to have no errors in it, because there's no other way for me to complete what needs to be done. I am now striving. I am in the flesh, and I am most likely going to have a fleshly response to my life. Okay, so the antidote to that is to not be in the flesh, but to be moved along by the Spirit in a rhythm of work, rest, being led by the Spirit, rather than being yanked around by the flesh, pushing and charging at life. All right, so why should you listen to me? Mainly because I'm a former rushing, packing it in junkie, and so I've been where you're at, if and probably worse. But the Bible has some things to say about this. I've pondered this for many years. God has put eternity in our hearts, and there's a very real possibility that we were not meant to have limitations on our time. There's something in us that craves not having to waste time in traffic, not having to waste time standing in line, not having to be limited in our vacation time, not having to be limited in the things that we enjoy. So just know that that yearning to have just one more hour in the day is part of that that better life that we're going to have in eternity. But in the meantime, we are limited human beings. And I guarantee that if God gave you 26 hours, it wouldn't be enough. If he gave you 27 hours, it wouldn't be enough. So chasing after more hours is not going to fix things. He tells us in Psalm 16 that he has determined our lot, our portion, and our cup, and the boundary lines have fallen in pleasant places. If you're straining at your boundary lines, if you are needing more energy than you have, if you're needing more time than you have, then your boundary lines, you're not living within your boundary lines, and life is not pleasant. So we'll come back to this as we do our work. But what we're striving for, if you think of a pair of pants that don't fit, and how you try to stuff some of you might have to imagine this. I don't have to imagine it. But if you try to stuff yourself into a size too small, it's very uncomfortable. If you put yourself into an outfit that is your proper size, things feel better. That's what we're trying to do with our schedule and our tasks. Another litmus test or filter. So I want you to be shooting for your days to be pleasant. You're living well within the boundaries God has placed on you. And also this gut check. God loves a cheerful giver, and Christians oftentimes think this means I have to keep giving and giving with a smile pasted on. No. When I am given an invitation to participate in something, I am requested to perform an act of service. When these decisions about how I'm going to spend my time come my way, even when the phone rings, when a text comes in, when an email comes in, I do a heart check. Can I do this cheerfully? If I am giving and serving beyond the pleasant places of the boundaries God has placed in my life, I don't believe that I'm in God's will. Now, I know that there are things we are called to that are unpleasant, are hard, and are needed. That's something entirely different. I'm not talking about shirking responsibility. I'm talking about listening to the Holy Spirit speak to you And can you truly say yes with a cheerful heart? And we'll talk about details later on, but for instance, if a child wants to sign up for the latest greatest, I have two choices there. I look at my schedule and I can either say, I realize it's going to stress me out if I agree to do travel, let's just say basketball. If I realize with what I've got going on in my home, in my life, in my work, in my ministry, in my health, that I cannot say yes cheerfully, I can only grit my teeth and say yes. The choice I have is to say the hard no now. I don't want to say no. I don't like disappointing a child. Or to uncheerfully give to that child. And then what they're going to remember is mom always had a grimace on her face every time we headed out to basketball. So you're putting off the uncheerful involvement in something because you did not have the courage and the honesty to say no when the request came under your radar. So I use that, can I cheerfully say yes to this commitment, as a litmus test from the Lord. But the overarching biblical concept of stewardship is what this workshop's going to be all about. So you have a certain temperament that can handle so many people at a time and then needs to rest. You have a certain capacity of energy. Some of you are young and energetic. Some of you are young and not so energetic. Some of you are frail and have illnesses. All of these capacities and incapacities and limitations are ordained by God. We want to do the best with what we've had, with what we have. But when we live within those boundaries, we will live well. God allows us a certain amount of financial income. When we don't outgo more than the income, we will have peace, correct? So our energy needs to be stewarded well. We can't give out more energy than we actually have, or we will be unhappy and life will be unpleasant. And resources as well of money. If I spend more than I take in, life will not be pleasant. And it's the same thing with time. My husband is an accountant, and he for a while, years back, worked in the financial helps ministry of our church. And he noticed that most people did not have an income problem, they had an outgo problem. They were living beyond their means. And that's what I think we as a culture do, and especially women, Christian women who serve in the church, who serve their children and family. We have more outgo than income. And if you are doing 27 hours worth of work in the 24-hour day, then you're not going to feel good about your life. Life is not going to be pleasant. So what we'll do in this workshop is try to trim, prioritize, change things. We're not trying to cram more in, right? We need a lot of margin, but we're trying to determine, Lord, you've given me 24 hours. You can increase your pant size, or you can decrease your weight. You can decrease your calorie intake to match your metabolic index and your calorie burning. You can increase your finances by changing your job or getting education, and you can decrease your expenses by downsizing. But time is 24 hours given to everybody, one day at a time. God's not going to give you more hours in your day. So you need to steward it well so that what you're trying to accomplish reasonably fits within the boundary lines of your temperament, your energy, your capacity, and the number of hours in the day. And when you hit that sweet spot, you will have great contentment. And Who is not attracted to a contented person? We are a pushing, angry, impatient, thin-skinned culture. And when you are that picture of fruitfulness without hurry or stress of trying to do too much in too little time, you will be a beautiful testimony to others of the Lord's work inside your heart. It is a going upstream against the crowd to seek to lead a contented life of fruitfulness without stress. You will be unique. You will stand out in the crowd. And I want to tell you that I'm a feisty go-getter. So I'm not talking about retiring early and putting your feet up to watch Netflix. I am big on fruitful, not big on busy anymore. We're a busy culture, but are we a fruitful culture? And you are probably a busy person if you are watching this video and want to work through this workshop. But are you a fruitful person? Are you bearing more and more of the fruit of the Spirit, inner fruit of the Spirit, as well as bearing good fruit in your life? That's what we're all about. That's what God wants for you. So this is a very practical workshop. Let's get to the how-tos. This is how it's going to work. I keep trying to move my face out of here. I like to not even have my face in here. Oops, it's Time Tamers. So careful, there's an error there. Oh, well, welcome to Susan. So this is what we want to do. These are two rooms that have the same amount of stuff, perhaps, but things are well ordered in the second picture, right? And actually, I should take that back. There's probably a good chance that many things were eliminated, but you just get a different feel with picture number 2. Picture number 1 frazzles me looking at it, and I have to look at that sort of mess often enough in my own life. But what we're shooting for is bringing order to chaos, right? Look at the before and the after picture. All the contents are there, but there's some orderliness. And I will tell you that I am not an orderly personality. So I'm not talking about creating a rigid schedule that will steal your joy and will be like a strict diet that you can't stick to, can't stand, don't want to stick to after a couple days. I am just wanting to contrast for you disorder to order, apply it to your schedule, to your days, chaos to order, imbalance to balance, right? This is what we're trying to do when there's too much food, not enough calorie burning. There's going to be imbalance when there's too much activity, not enough hours in the day. There will be bondage. When you spend too much, you're in bondage. But we want to escape time debt. That's what this workshop is about. We're going to escape the bondage of time debt, where no matter how hard you work, you can't catch up. All right. So here is an overpacked family, overpacked. I'm giving you visuals. Overpacked. My husband told me for years, you try to pack 10 pounds into a 5-pound bag. And I was like, well, who wouldn't want to do that? Game on, right? But I have been taught, I have learned, I have repented that don't you feel stressed out, right? You might manage to pack it in there, but what if you need your sunglasses in the red bag on top of the white car, right? What if you need the white bag underneath everything else in the center picture? What if you forgot and put the potato chips and the eggs at the bottom of that cart? Just because you can pack it in doesn't make it pleasant. And any suitcase, is that the next picture? Any suitcase, okay, doesn't fit. Maybe fits because it's well ordered, but again, think about getting one item out of either of those suitcases. You might get it zipped up. You might get it, to pass muster at the airport. But the minute you need anything, it just all falls apart. So you know, I became a master. I ate up anything that taught me how to economize my time. You know Marie Kondo, who tells you to fold it this way. Oh my gosh, I took Marie Kondo with me when I traveled. I watched all her videos and I learned how to sort through and fit more into the suitcase. I'm not a minimalist, but minimalism has a beauty to it, correct? So look at that beautiful just what I need packed suitcase on the right. There's just a sense of peace. And I'm telling you again that I'm not that kind of a person naturally. I like color. I would add color. I'd probably add a red scarf or a purple hat to that packing, but I want you to contrast it with the straining that comes from the pictures on the right. So that's what we're trying to do. We're going from this sort of a home to that sort of a home. And that's a tiny little home at the bottom. You don't necessarily need more space. You just need order. There's a large home that's beautiful and minimalist. Again, I'm not a minimalist. Look at the picture behind me. I've got more color. I have so much color and pattern in my home that one of my sons said that someone's going to have an aneurysm when they walk in, but it's beautiful to me. It's pleasant, it's bright. It's there's just enough for me to do what I want to do, offer what I want to offer from my home. So I'm not saying that you have to become a person who only does 2 things a day and repeats it day after day. There can be a lot of variety in your life, but don't you just get a sense of peace in the second 2 pictures, whereas the first one just gives you instant stress because there's too much stuff and no order. All right. So hopefully that has fanned the flames and you're ready to get to work. So after this video, you're not going to immediately bring your schedule into order. I am asking you to follow the steps. People want to jump right into designing their schedule, and that doesn't work. I did that, and it just doesn't work. So please follow the steps. I've got the steps for you. I want you to first assess the way things are. And that means, ideally a week of watching. I'll have the videos up sooner than that for you go-getters. But watching the week, watching your days, and seeing where your bugaboos are, where you're stressed, why you're stressed. Okay. So you're kind of looking at the day and you're like, I hate Mondays because blah, blah, blah. And oh, Tuesdays go really great, except at dinner time. Then, so you're assessing, you're watching the way things are. It would be you walking into that messy basement and saying, okay, we've got way too much of this. This room scares me. You're assessing, taking notes, observing, because I don't want you to leave this video and be all stressed out because you realize your schedule's not as orderly as you would like it to be. You can't make changes until you observe and are in touch with what it is about your week that you don't like. Okay? And then the second thing you'll be doing, kind of parallel, is creating what your dream date would look like, but not in order. Okay. So you will be creating lists of what you like. Say, for instance, right now it's wake up, don't have time for a shower, don't get to work out, snap at the kids. Dinner is always Fruit Loops, or I'm sorry, breakfast is always Fruit Loops. Lunch is always a TV dinner, and it's carry out for dinner, and you always run out of gas, figuratively and literally. So when you're creating, so that's you assessing your current reality. When you create your dream day or your week and you've got all the papers you need for this in your manual, you are saying, you know what? You know what would make me feel good? What would make me feel good would be time with the Lord in the morning. Every morning, I would love that. I would love to have a peaceful cup of coffee with my husband. I would love to have everything that I need for a healthy lunch in the fridge, instead of always scrambling. I'd love to have a menu. Dream big. dream big. I'd love to get to the gym 3 times a week. I'd love to have time to call my mom on the phone every Friday. I would love to be able to check in on each of my kids who are at college once a week, once a day. You dream big. I can't tell you what it is, but it is connected to the things you feel guilty about. At night, I really need to teach my kid how to ride their bike, but oh my goodness, I never have time in a week. This is why the list is kind of near at hand, so you can keep adding things to it. As you go along, as you're assessing the current reality, you're also creating your dream day. And don't try to edit what you wish you could accomplish in a day. And then we'll go through a process of looking at all of those things and realizing where the time wasters are, how we can streamline some of the things, how we can get rid of some of the things, how we can make the most important things that make all the other things go well. We'll do a bit of work. So again, this is a workshop. I can't tell you what a good day looks like for you, but you have something in your heart that you know you would like to be in your dream day. So we will do that work. I would like you to be emailing me your questions as you're doing this. This is a work week. If you're one of those kind of people, maybe it's a work day for you. Maybe you know the answers to 1 and 2 and 3 already, but I really would like for this to be interactive. I have done a workshop similar to this in times past, but with my responsibilities right now, I could not do a live workshop. So, but I'd like to make it live. So if at any time you see this video in the next 10 years and you want to get started on bringing your schedule into a beautiful, healthy balance, but you can't figure out how to handle this or that, please, please, please include me. I love this topic. I love seeing women set free from enslavement to their schedule. So I would say put in the subject line Time Tamers question. That would be helpful to me. All right. So, and then you're going to write your lists. And once you have those 2 lists, assessing the current reality, creating your dream day or week, that's when I want you to come back. I'm going to tell you about the homework. All right. So here's what you're going to include. These are the pages that you have. You have a what to include page. So on your list, you're going to put what needs to be done: wake up time, bedtime, hours of sleep, meals. Put those on your list, not in any order. I give 30 minutes for meals, but you don't even have to put a time in there. Say, I need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In my ideal day, I would like to wake up at 7 o'clock. In my ideal day, I would like to be in bed by 10 o'clock. In my ideal day, I would love to get 7 hours of sleep. Okay, this is your dream. All right, put down there that you need to shower, makeup, hair. Put that in your list. These are things that need to be done. Put on your list that you would like time in the day to attend to things so they don't build up, right? You would like to do household chores, errands, job. These are things that need to fit into a week, unless you're extremely wealthy and people do these things for you. All right. And put in there that you would love to grow in the Lord. You'd like to have time for Bible study. We're dreaming. We're not putting together all the pieces yet. We're kind of brainstorming, not in any order, right? And if you'd like to add to these once weekly or 3 times weekly or twice a day or whatever, you can do that. So right now it's a big brainstorm. All right. Obligations. These are things that you're just committed to. Your room mother twice a month, or you have agreed to care for your grandchildren once a week. That sort of thing. You have agreed to be Meals on Wheels for a friend every other week. Anything that you have committed to. And this workshop's not going to be your excuse to break all your obligations. We're going to assess. We're going to have goals. We're going to ease ourselves out of obligations that perhaps we should never have taken on. But right now we're assessing and we're dreaming. Okay, physical exercise. Not what are you doing now? This will probably be in the dream list. Some of these will be in the dream list. Some of these will be in the observation list. Ministry, would you like to be involved? Are you involved? What would be your dream? I'd love to be in a small group. Women tell me they're not in small groups because they don't have time. They're not in Bible studies because they don't have time. They're out of shape because they don't have time. They feel guilty because they're not meeting their obligations because they don't have time. So put all these things on your list. And if it's another year past and you haven't gotten back to learning how to create stained glass or play the piano, put it down there. This is your dream list right now. And I would just add in there, just put 30 minutes and then maybe call it big project. I usually have one of these going in my life, like basement redo, or go through all the children's books and give some away. Something that is so monumental that it kind of nauseates you to think of taking it on all at once. Put any monumental, scrapbooking the children's photos, that sort of thing. Put that in there too. We will deal with those things that you never have time for. All right. Remember that you don't get to click your heels and move. Well, maybe now post-COVID, but most people don't just have class from 10 till 12. They have to drive to class and then drive home from class. Include that in your list. Phone calls, if there are people that you feel guilty about not giving a call. I have people in my life who prefer phone calls to texts. So I'm tired of feeling guilty about not calling them. If this is you, then you're going to put that on your list as well. Dream big here. I raised 5 children. We homeschooled them. I wanted to have one-on-one time with each of them every day. In the end, after learning a few things, I couldn't have one-on-one with each of them every day and still get my other things accomplished. But we'll talk about the reality that when God does not give you the space to do what you want, it's really the best for everyone when you don't try to do it in the flesh. Okay, so my kids they're really close with each other. They ended up being very close with each other because I ended up changing it out to one-on-one time with each one once a week. Maybe more than that. It's been a long time now, and the other children will play with each other during that time. That ended up being a blessing. Don't forget that pets take care, not only walks, but they need playtime. You need to be able to put in vet time, etc. And we're going to put in margin. I want you to write that word in there, margin, margin, margin. Margin means the space around the edges. There are things you don't know about that are going to happen in your life. And that's why we leave margin. They're the invisible appointments on the calendar. And so if it takes, your commute time, if it normally takes about 22 minutes, you'll probably, next step, put in 30 minutes. Okay. Because that leaves time for an accident on the road or for someone to call you right before you leave the house. So we want to pack margin in, but more about that later. I just want you to know that you need margin, and it's big and bold, pretty colors, because it's an important part of the equation. All right. So there's the things you should include. Then you're going to do so this is what your to-do list is, your dream day, not in any order. All right. And you also have in your packet weekly and monthly pages. So as you're, put these to use as you can. I want to visit one child where they live out of town once a month. Or I want to call my grandmother every Friday of the month, or every week I want to make time to be in a Bible study. So things that you don't want to happen every day, but in your dream life, you would do them on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. Go ahead and write them down somewhere. You can print out this template as much as you want, but you might end up creating a dream month on one of these pages and a dream week on another one. You'll see, I've got all kinds of, I tried to think of every kind of chart that I've ever used and give it to you. You can probably create even better than what I'm giving you on, you know, a Google Doc or an Excel spreadsheet, but I'm trying to give you the idea. If you have children in the home, you are responsible for helping them do this. They won't even know you're doing it, but put this on here. I already mentioned I wanted one-on-one time. We homeschooled, you know, we had 5 kids, not a lot of money, close in age, under one roof. And there were all sorts of things that I felt guilty about at the end of the day, that I didn't get to this with one of them. I didn't get to that with one of them. I was short with one of them. I would see like, oh my gosh, it takes us so long to get our shoes on and get in the car. So I was like, oh, I really need to have time in the morning to train them in getting their shoes on so we can get better at that. So I actually think that if anyone has interest, I'd love to do just a whole nother workshop for homeschooling moms. But even if you're not homeschooling, but you're responsible for young ones, they're going to have to be added to your list. Even though you have, you know, when they're at school, if you do put them in school or they're of school age and they're in school, you don't have to account for their time then. But most adults stress out and are tempted to sin with their tongue, their tone, their attitude because they have too much to do. Children tend to bicker and get into trouble because they don't have enough to do. They don't have enough structure in their day. So we'll talk about what to do with them as well. So you've got some other things in here. Eventually we will fill this out, but you're not doing that before you see me again, right? I've got just some pages for you to kind of sketch out what would a good morning, I like chunking things out. What would a good morning look like? You would just work on that, not yet, but what would I like my between lunch and dinner to look like? What would I like my after dinner and evening to look like? Same thing for children. You know, you sketch it out vaguely perhaps now. So I gave you a couple of these templates. You might have something with better, but you're not doing that now. That's in your packet, but we're not going to work on that now. Okay, so this is what I want you to do before you see me again in part 2. All right, these are your action steps. I want you to brainstorm your dream day list. No hours, no order of activities, none of that. Just brainstorm. You actually could probably use a journal page for that. There it is there. You might have more than those things on your to-do list. I want you to observe your day or week, noting the stress points, because we are going to tackle those. We want those, we want to make the whole day as smooth as possible. All right. Keep observing and adding to the dream day list for you and for your children. All right. You know, even just think of that little segment of time when they come home from school. If you have school-age children who go away from the home for school, what do you want their re-entrance into the home to look like? You want that to be beautiful and have a harmony and a rhythm to it as well. What do you want their bedtime to look like? Right? What do you want your bedtime to look like? Do you want to work like a dog to where you barely want to brush your teeth because you're so exhausted just turning off your phone before you fall into bed? Or would you like to actually read a book for 30 minutes before you go to sleep at a reasonable hour? Dream, dream, dream big. All right. So you've got all of these pages that you're just going to keep adding to. All right. You're going to check and double check. Give yourself time for this. That's why I don't want to do this all in one day. I want you to really observe your day and give yourself the freedom to brainstorm and dream about what you would like to include in a week. And then I want you to come back. When you've got all those lists, you've spent as many days as you need to, you've got your list, you know where you're at, you know what you don't like about what you've got going on right now. Do not judge any of it. Just put it down there. This is not a time to be saying, but I can't get out of that, but I have to take care of that. And I already said, None of that. We are observing the way things are. You are an objective observer. And then you are dreaming like, whoa, would I love to not have like a crazy frenetic Friday every week? Oh, would I love to not feel guilty about X, Y, and Z? Oh, would I love to not just stare at my husband in exhaustion every night? That's what we're doing before we start putting all those observations and dreams to into order. And it works, okay? So I want you to come back after you've done your work. I want you to watch this video as many times as you need to, and I would love to hear from you. Any questions, any comments that you have, please, please, please reach out to me, because I would love to be doing this in person, but I've learned to tame my time, and I just know that this year I can't do it in person. And if you would like special help, if you're homeschooling or you just have any kind of question, I would love to put in. I could talk about this forever, but for now, that's all I've got. So I pray for you that you will be able to master your time. Don't let your time master you, because God wants you to love your life. See you at the next one.